Welcome back to Superstarglam. So today's video, it's a review and my opinion on the Laura Lee Los Angeles Party Animal palette. I'm going to insert a clip of a demo of me using it, and then at the end I will give you my final thoughts on this palette. Some of these colors, the problems I'm having is that they're not as pigmented as they are on the actual pen. This looks like such an electric neon, like royal blue, and I can pat it kind of that color, but the more you blend it out, the less intense it looks. I don't think that you can see what I can see close up. It looks like what I was trying to do and do the fading of each color, but close up I see a bit of patchiness, and again I really have had to dig onto these colors to try to get the maximum color payoff. But the more that I keep blending, the more that it starts getting a little patchy. The more you blend, it kind of fades away. So this is the completed look once I've done the rest of my face. You can get more or less an idea. Okay, so as you saw in the demo, it was a challenge to work with these shadows. This is what the swatches look like. I think they swatch really good. You do have to build up the color for the swatch and also to apply to your eye. There is a bit of fallout. It can ruin your look if you're doing it after your base. But anyways, one thing I wanted to bring up is when I first got this, again, I was really excited about this palette because I was actually going to purchase this palette. It looked beautiful. It's definitely a good size palette and a good amount of shadows to incorporate with like your everyday palette. I think that initially I was more excited about these two shades, the orange and the, I don't know, you would call this like a lime green or yellow, like neon yellow. I was expecting a bit more color payoff, so for that reason I think it was a miss, and not to mention that it was a little bit difficult to work with this palette. I don't know, I'm giving you the facts and you can make up your mind whether you think it's worth it or not. I think it's worth that we got it in this month's BoxyCharm. I didn't have to spend additional money to get it, which again I was wanting to purchase it anyways. Now, the other information that I gathered was because I was looking at the colors and I was like, they look so similar to a palette that is very popular and that I have and I've had for a while. So my thought is this the palette that she used as inspiration? I'm not accusing anyone of copying, but there are very, very similar, and if once I compared these two palettes, I realized how identical they are except for the finish. And the palette that I'm talking about is the Urban Decay Electric palette. Now this is definitely a palette that I have purchased almost at the beginning of my YouTube channel, and I was drawn to color. You know, I wanted to play with color. Now I do have to say, I think that the pigmentation is there on the Urban Decay, but I just have to show you how ridiculously similar these two palettes are. Obviously, the Urban Decay palette has more colors than the other palette, but in terms of some of the shades, also the orange and yet the yellow aren't necessarily identical, but I have to show you side by side. We're gonna compare one by one. It's a Party and the Rash, and It's a Party is a matte finish, and Thrash is a shimmer. Can you see that? Obviously, Thrash is a little bit deeper in color, but that is pretty similar if you ask me. The next shade, Damage Control from the Laura Lee palette, and Gonzo from the Electric palette. Laura Lee's palette is a matte, while Urban Decay is a shimmer. Urban Decay's is deeper and a little bit more pigmented, but that's very similar. The next shade is Laura Lee's Karaoke and Urban Decay's Chaos. Laura Lee's shade is matte, while Urban Decay's is shimmer. So it's deeper is Urban Decay's, and this one is Laura Lee's. Again, Laura Lee's is matte and Urban Decay's is shimmer and deeper in color. So the only color that's definitely not comparable is the orange Drinks. I'm going to skip, but the next shade is, which is Bottoms Up from Laura Lee's palette, and Savage from the Urban Decay. Now this one is different. Laura Lee's is shimmer and Urban Decay's is matte. Again, deeper in color, a little bit more pigmented than the Laura Lee. This is Urban Decay and this is Laura Lee. But tell me it's not similar. You can definitely say she drew inspiration if you were being nice. And then the last shade from Laura Lee is Hungover, and the almost identical, if not similar shade is Urban from the Urban Decay. And this one, I think even the finish is identical. Laura Lee's looks a little bit more, I don't know, I would say more violet, and the Urban Decay one has more bluish. I think from all of the shades, these are identical from finish to almost spot on color. So again, I'm just throwing out the facts, and you can come to your own conclusion if this was totally copying or just plain old drawing inspiration to the Urban Decay palette. So once I realized how similar these palettes are, then I realized that I really didn't have a need for this palette. Again, maybe just that orange shade is probably the most unique color that I don't think I have in my collection, but that's pretty much it. Everything else is dupable or similar to this palette. And if you happen to have BoxyCharm, then you were lucky enough to get it in this month's BoxyCharm, which I was again thrilled that I got it and didn't have to go out and purchase it separately. So for me, it was just a miss. I already have the, like, I think this was pretty much like the holy grail of neon and electric colors with this palette. So technically I did not have a need for this palette. These are all just information, and you can take it and gather it and make your own opinion about whether this palette was worth it, whether you feel it was total ripoff, or if it was just a palette inspired by the Urban Decay electric palette. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I am very interested to know what you think, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.